नमस्कार. आयच्या ग्राउंड झिरोक तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. विशय आसा तो गोंयच्या मायनिंगाचो आनी फाल्यां ही केस सुप्रीम कोर्टात येता जंय पंचायती आपूण जावन सुप्रीम कोर्टा मुखार गेल्यात कारण तांच्या जीवन मरणाचो प्रश्न म्हणून. आनी आमकां जॉइन जाता त्या विशयाचेर उलोवपा खातीर सुप्रीम कोर्टाचे सिनियर लॉयर गोपाल जैन. गोपाल, वेलकम. लेट मी स्टार्ट विथ अ वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चन. Why is tomorrow's hearing so significant, and how it would be different from the other hearings we have seen in the past?
Well, since your show is called Ground Zero, I think the most important thing is to communicate the ground realities because there has been a complete devastation on account of cyclone which you had prior to that, and up to now you had 2 rounds of COVID. So lives and livelihood have come to a grinding halt and a complete standstill. So this picture has now to be presented before the court for its kind consideration, and the impact is more pronounced than before. So there has to be some hope that the people have of resumption of their lives and thereby livelihood, which is almost like giving them oxygen, which is the need of the hour.
Panchayats are before the Supreme Court. How significant do you think panchayats being there before the apex court?
Well, panchayats are representative of the voice of the people. It's a constitution body. It's elected representative, and they therefore speak on behalf of the people and the community, and they are going to express their pain and concern directly before the court. So it assumes great significance to have the elected representative speaking in one collective voice in trying to present before the court the ground reality and the consequences which the people have faced for the last 3 or 4 years, in particular over the last few months.
But what are the panchayats saying, and how it is different from the submissions made previously, maybe by mining companies or the state government or Union of India?
Look, the presentation by the panchayat touches upon the real lives of people and the effect, and it is obviously directly linked to the state, its economy and economic activity. So be it mining, be it tourism, these are the lifelines of the state, and since these two have virtually come to a stop and to a halt, it's had an adverse effect. So this is what they will be presenting before the court, that whatever avenues they had for livelihood, those avenues are no longer available, and therefore some way forward has to be found. A practical, workable arrangement has to be found which restores their livelihoods, and that's very, very important that economic activity is resumed, because that is absolutely vital for people's livelihood, for employment, for jobs, and even for a state which is so hugely dependent on 2 major activities.
Yeah, absolutely, because Goa's economy right now is in a very dire state, and without tourism, without mining, there is no way the state can survive. This has been a long drawn legal battle. Can we expect, as Goan citizens of the state, that we are coming finally to some conclusion, or this is still going to be another year or couple of years more of long drawn court cases?
Well, I think since the case is coming up for consideration before the court, when the complete picture is presented before the court, given the extreme urgency and the precarious position people are in, I'm sure the court will consider that and decide this matter as quickly as possible. And people should always, as they do, have complete faith in our system that is able to redress people's grievances. Remember, our courts have worked throughout this COVID period dealing with those issues. Even earlier, they've had midnight hearings where it was required. So I think court is very considerate and also conscious of the impact that COVID and other natural events have had on people's life. And I'm sure they'll take all those factors into account while giving priority and urgency to a case of this kind.
Gopal, final question. Panchayats being before the Supreme Court, there is a consistent issue of some NGOs trying to stall any resumption of mining in Goa. Do you think such kind of impediments can be brought in again, or this time do you think it will be a comparatively smoother sailing?
Let me just put it in a slightly different way. The true voice of the people is always through elected bodies, particularly constitutionally recognized institutions as the panchayat. That is real public interest. That's the real voice of the people of Goa. And I'm sure that that will receive the due attention of the court versus what I would call voices which may purport to represent people. So as I say, doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani, that's something will open itself up before the court.
Absolutely. Gopal, and thanks a lot for joining. And one thing I think everybody is unanimous about here in Goa is we cannot survive without both the primary drivers of our economy getting stalled. And as far as mining is concerned, it is not only direct employment but the indirect employment and the ripple effect. And we were somehow trying to manage with that, and then the COVID struck, then the cyclone, and now the panchayats are before the Supreme Court. I hope it reaches some conclusion at least this time. Gopal Jain, thanks a lot for joining.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Keep our fingers crossed. Thank you.
They say you don't need a reason to shop at a sale. I say, you've got to be kidding. My reason? Fashion. Get ready for India's hottest fashion sale, featuring the world's biggest brands. The season of reason is coming.